Hello everyone. This is software engineering fundamental class, and we will uh, continue from object-oriented approach and object-oriented analysis, which we have discussed. Remaining part we have discussed earlier in our previous class. In this class, we will discuss about the domain analysis, use cases, class responsibility, collaborator modeling, classification and assembly structures, instance connections and message path, object oriented analysis and prototyping, uh, the relationship model, object relationship model, and object behavior model. Okay, let us start with the domain analysis. As you know that object-oriented analysis is conducted at different levels of abstraction. As I said in previous class, that abstraction is the main part of object-oriented approach. So objects are the main part of object-oriented approach and methodology. So and which is based on the abstraction. So object-oriented analysis is conducted at different levels of abstraction, and when object-oriented analysis is conducted at middle level of abstraction, this is called as domain analysis. Okay, when object-oriented analysis conducted at middle level, when it is conducted on middle level, at middle level of abstraction, then we can call it as a domain analysis. And this is done when analysis wants analysis wants to conduct at middle level of abstraction, and when he wants to create a library of reusable classes, which is the main aim of software engineering. As you know that reusability is the main aim of software engineering. So when analyst wants to create a library of reusable classes that will be broadly applicable to the entire category of application, he will he can do the domain analysis. Okay, so the domain analysis is required when you want to create library of reusable classes, because the reusability concept you can achieve through the classes. Okay, so domain analysis is used to find or create those classes that are broadly applicable so that they may be reused. Okay, libraries are for what purpose? What is the purpose of library? The purpose of library is to make software reusable. Okay, to provide modules to the client or to the developer for reusable purpose. Okay, so there are some major goals of domain analysis. The first major goal of domain analysis is that domain analysis is an ongoing software engineering activity. It is continuous, you can say it is continuous software engineering activity that is not connected to any one software project, any other software project. It is not directly connected to the uh, any software project, but it is an online software engineering activity. Domain analysis to identify the purpose of domain, to make this software project reusable. Okay, this is the first goal of major goal of domain analysis. The second goal of domain analysis is that domain analysis designs and rebuilds a revisable component that may be used by many people working on similar but not necessarily on the same application. That is the purpose of reusability. Okay, when many people working on similar but not necessarily on the same application, they can use the libraries available on the they can use the library modules available in the library. Okay, so again the reusability concept, again the rebuilding concept is there, and domain analysis is the main thing which is related to the identification of domain to be investigated, and which begins with the identification of the domain to be investigated, and with the specifications of objects and classes that characterize the domain. Okay, that is the working of domain analysis. Here you can see in this diagram that the activity domain analysis begins with the identification of domain to be investigated, and through the domain analysis the process ends with the specification of objects and classes that characterize the domain. So identification, the activity begins, domain analysis begins with the identification of domain which is to be investigated, and after the domain analysis you can end the activity through the specification, by finding the specification of objects and classes that characterize the domain. Okay, so this is all about the working of domain analysis. We can say that domain analysis essentially involves the concept of reusability of components. As I said earlier, that software engineering is, I'm saying this thing again and again. Why? Because the major aim of software engineering is to make softwares reusable. Okay, so domain analysis essentially involves the concept of reusability of components. Components means modules. So it is uh, based on the concept of reusability of modules, you can say, that are already present in the system. So if the reusable modules already present in the system, you can what you have what to do now, you have to identify first, you have to identify all such type of components first, and then provide to the developer for reuse, use it again. Okay, in or incorporate in the next project. This is the domain purpose of domain analysis. So suppose for developing a complex software projects, thousands classes are needed. Two software companies are assigned the task of building the same project. Company X, suppose company X doesn't use any existing interface and builds all the classes that scratch. Okay, so whereas company Y uses an already available robust classes library and now only has to build 400 classes on its own. Okay, in this situation, company X and Y, there are two companies, suppose, and uh, uh, we have to we have a need of thousands classes. Okay, in our current project. So or a project undertaken by the company X. So what is needed? The development of thousand classes is a tedious activity, is a complex activity, is a time taking activity. Okay, so what company X will do? Company X will do what? It searches the reusable classes from the library, classes which are already existing. Okay, so when he found, suppose 600 classes or suppose 400 classes that are reusable, then what to do? He will make the target, his target is shrink now. Okay, he what is his target now? To make only 400 classes. Okay, so the complex activity through the domain analysis reduces in a and reduces in a simple activity. Okay, or possible activity. So uh, we can say that the cost of working it what it happen what it's mean that you through the domain analysis you can reduce the time of the development. Secondly, you can reduce the cost of the development process. Thirdly, you cannot now uh, waste your time on on detect the errors, because the software, the components which are reusable are already tested, so there is no need to test it again. Okay, so there are some features, or you can say there are some uh, advantages of domain analysis. Okay, so there are several activities suggested by Baird that characterize the process. These are the series of activities that characterize the domain analysis. The first activity is defining or definition of domain to be investigated. The second activity is characterizing the item extracted from domain. The third activity is collecting sample of application in the domain, and the fourth activity analyzing each application, and the last activity is developing an analysis model. So there are a series of means one by one activity. One When one activity is completed, the second activity is started on then only. Okay, so there are a series of activities that characterize the domain analysis. The first activity is definition of domain to be investigated. The product category has to be isolated. Then object oriented items and non object oriented item must be extracted. Okay, so definition of domain to be investigated. In the second, categorizing the items extracted from domain, the items are categorized, and the general definition categories of domains are defined in this step, in this activity. Then in the third activity, the items of the application must fit into the already well-defined categories. So collecting sample of application in the domain is an important category, or you can say it is an important activity. Then in the analyzing each application, in this activity, the reusable objects are identified first, then percentage of applications in the domain that might reuse and object is find out. So uh, this is the process. These are the activities you can conduct it one by one during the domain analysis, step by step process, you can say. In the last activity, at last the analysis model is developed. So developing an analysis model is the last activity of domain analysis. Okay, so uh, I elaborate again this thing, that domain analysis is conducted at different levels of abstraction, and when it is conducted at middle level of abstraction, it is called as domain analysis. And what is the purpose of domain analysis? The purpose of domain analysis is to make the components reusable. uh, Identify the components of reusable is the first goal. Then if the reusable components are not available, make them available is the second goal of the domain analysis. Okay, I gave you an example of domain analysis, which presents which presented the importance of domain analysis. Uh, that there are we are working in X company, we are developer in X company, and we need we have a project which is a complex project, and if we want to develop 1,000 classes, we require 1,000 classes to be developed. So what to do? It is a complex activity, so we have to perform the domain analysis, and we have to find out the reusable classes from the library, and we can use first we have to identify classes for our use, and then we have to adopt those classes as it is in our project. So what will happen? It will reduce the cost of because they are ready-made classes, they will reduce the cost of your uh, project, working project. they you through this process, when you are adopting reusable classes from libraries, it will reduce the time, it will reduce the workforce, it will reduce the uh, testing time of your existing project. Okay, so uh, and further we discussed about the working of domain analysis. Like domain analysis begins with the identification of domain to be investigated. Then domain through the domain analysis we can end the product we can end the process through the specification of objects and classes that characterize the domain. Okay, and then I had elaborated the series of activities that to be performed that characterize the domain analysis. This is the first activity, second activity, third, fourth, and fifth. So there are five series of activities. Identification, it is starts from the identification of domain to be investigated, and it ends with the developing an analysis model. Okay, now come to the next part of this lecture, next point of this lecture, that is use cases. Use cases were introduced into object analysis by Jacobson as a means of communication with users, and they are scripts that describe typical ways that a system is or well be used. A use case is generally in the sense that it doesn't describe instances of how a system is used, but generalize a number of instances into a general script. And use cases should achieve some objectives. First, what are the objectives of use cases? To define the functional and operational requirements of the system. System means product. Okay, to define the functional and operational requirements of the system by defining a scenario of uses that is agreed upon by the end user and the software engineering team. So first purpose of use case is to define the functional and operational requirement of the system in the present scenario, in the existing scenario. And the second objective of the use case is to provide a clear description of how the end user and the system interact with each other. Okay, so what is the first purpose of use case? You firstly, what is use case? Use case means it is a communication, it is a part of object analysis, it provides a communication between the project development team and the user. You can say it is a diagrammatical representation of the system. uh, 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 the first objective is to uh, uh, define the functional and operational requirement of the system in the present scenario, and the second objective of use cases to provide a clear description of how the end user and the system interact with each other. Okay, so there are three objectives of use cases. The third objective is to provide a basic basis for validation testing. So there are number of methods of testing, there are number of types testing types, but the use cases is used only for validation testing. Okay, so the use cases provide what? Use the first objective to define the function and operation requirement of the system in the present scenario. Scenario means what? The environment of the development. And the second, to provide a clear description about how to use the system, how to interact the system and the end user to each other. Okay, the third is to provide a valid base, a base for validation testing. Okay, so this is the purpose of use case. And during the object oriented analysis, use cases serves as a basis for the first element of the analysis model. And in developing a use case, we identify the main factor or the role in the system, and then we describe the way they use or interact with the system. Okay, so use cases identification usually begins by looking at scenario to check how these act, acts or how these components are working together. We then use these scenarios to identify the useful way in which these uh, modules and are working with their activities. A system is usually described by a number of use cases which together become the use case model. So what is use case model? Use case model is consisting of various use cases. Okay, number of use cases, and every use cases is related to the module or component and the user. Okay, end user. uh, why this type of connectivity is required? This type of connectivity is required because it provides a description about the interaction, how they the process, how they interact with each other. We, uh, they interact with each other means what? The end user and the system. Okay, so this is the basic purpose of use case. uh, Now come to the next point, case responsibility collaborator modeling, CRC. We are saying it as a we are call it as a CRC. Okay, Ambler presents this CRC modeling first, and after developing use case scenario, the system classes, their responsibilities and collaborations are identified. Class responsibility collaborator provides a simple way to identification and arrangement. Arrangement means organization. Okay, so it provides this modeling provides a simple way to identification and organization of classes that are relevant to the system or product requirements. So Ambler described the CRC model. He defines the CRC model as that a CRC model is really a collection of a standard index card. This is showing in the diagram. You can see the CRC index card in this diagram. Okay, so a CRC model is a collection of standard index cards that represent classes. So you can mention the class name here, class type like device or property, class characteristics like tangible or inclusive, and what are the responsibilities, what are the collaborations this class consists of. So you can mention all these things here about the class, and it is called as class responsibility collaborator modeling model. Okay, so what this model consisting this model consisting the class name, all information about the class name is there, class type is there, class characteristics are there, responsibilities of this class is there. If it is collaborated with other classes, then collaboration related information is there. So the class responsibility collaborator modeling is provide you the understanding about the class. It provides the complete information about the class, and this standard index card, CRC index card represents what? It represents the classes. Okay, so the cards are divided into three sections. Along the top of the card you write the name of the class. In the body of the card you list the class responsibilities on the left and the collaborators on the right. Okay, so this is the you can see it in the this slide, that a typical example of a CRC index card. In reality, the CRC model may make use of actual or virtual cards. You can draw it in your documentation, or you can imagine these cards. So so that an organized representation of class can be developed. So responsibilities are the attributes and operations that are relevant for the classes, and collaborators are those classes that are needed to provide a responsibility. So you can make the responsibility classes responsibility of that class, and the class contains collaborators you can mention in this segment. Okay, so this is all about the class responsibility collaborator modeling, which provides you the uh, better understanding, and which provides a reader about the classes existing in the present system. Okay, so this is all about class responsibility collaborator modeling. Now come to the next point, which is classification and assembly structure. Okay, this is the figure related to the classification structure notation. Notation means there are several notations available. There are, as I earlier said, that notations provided by various scientists. Different notations are available to draw a feature. There are because uh, if there are various scientists are available, and each one have their own view about the structure, they are designing their own view. So when we are talking about standard classification and assembly structure, this is the example of simple classification structure and assembly structure. Okay, one classes and objects have been once the classes and objects have been identified, now the analyst begins to focus on classification structure. All classes and objects when identified, it is the responsibility of analyst to begin to focus on classification structure, and each object is considered as a generalization, then as a specialization. Okay, so generalization means what? We are talking about generalize. Okay, and specialization means what? We are more specific towards domain. Okay, so when we are talking about domain specific knowledge, we are uh, classified. Okay, we are specialized, we are talking about specialization. And when we are talking about like engineering, like science. Okay, science is a broad category. Science, when we are talking in generalized form, we are talking about science. But when we are talking about physics, chemistry, and biology, and other branches of science, then we are more specific. We are talking about the domain specific knowledge. So that this is called as specialization. Okay, this is the general difference about generalization and specialization. Generalization means, like, for example, science is the example of, when we are talking about science, it is a example of generalization. We are talking about uh, we are talking about general thing, that is science, which consists of all the branches. But when we are talking about physics, or when we are talking about nuclear physics, when we are talking about space science, when we are talking about biology, when we are talking about plant pathology, when we are talking about uh, animal behavior, then it is more specific. Then we are talking we are talking about specialization. Okay, this is the general phenomena. And this type of methodology we are adopting in our software system also. So there are two terms, generalization and specialization. Each object is considered as a generalization, then as a specialization. That is, the instances of the object are defined and named. Specialization is an entity set which may include subgrouping of entities that are distinct in some way from other entities in the set. Whereas in the generalization, multiple entity sets are synthesized into a higher level entity set on the basis of common features. Okay, so this is a typical example of classification structure notation, where three segments are there, B, C, and D, and they are related to the their main component, which is A. Okay, so this is the classification structure. You can say it is a hierarchical structure, but decomposition is upward. Okay, in the generalization, class A is further redefined into a set of specialization that are B, C, and D. So you can say that A is a science, and B is a physics, C is a chemistry, and D is a biology. You can uh, uh, understand this classification structure notation with this example. Okay, so the generalization class A is further refined into a set of specialization that are B, C, and D. The attributes and operations of class A are inherited by the specialization of the class. Okay, consider this example also, example of generalization and specialization. Okay, this is the another example of generalization and specialization. Let a class person. Okay, this is the person. Class person is an entity set with the attributes like name, like street, and city. Okay, according to the specialities, person may be further classified as customer and employee. Okay, and these two classes entity sets, we can say it entity set includes all attributes of entity set person and some more additional attributes. Additional attributes of customer is customer id and customer id of employee and employee id and salary. Okay, so this is the example of generalization and specialization. So it can be seen, you can see it in this figure, that entity set customer and employee synthesize the common features of entity set person and also their own ones. In some other type of cases, an object represents in the initial model can actually be composed of a number of component or parts like object, we can say it objects, and structure of this type is called as assembly structure. This type of structure is called as assembly structure. So assembly structure, this is the general assembly structure notation. uh, this diamond implies an assembly relationship. The coordinality can also be shown on the connecting lines. Okay, structure represent provides an analyst with a means for partitioning of CRC model, and at last the model should be reviewed properly. So this is the classification. This is all about the classification and assembly structure. Uh, we we uh, we had discussion about the decomposition, we had discussion about the classification and assembly. This is assembly and this is the classification. Okay, so in classification structure notation, it the main thing is, this is the main thing A, and it is B, C, D are the specialization, and this is the generalization. A is the example of generalization, and B, C, D is the example of specialization. So classification consists of two things: specialization and generalization. And this is the example we had discussed about the generalization and specialization. And this is the assembly structure general notation, which depends on the this diamond part, which is the relationship between the main entity and the sub entities. Okay, okay. Now come to the next part, that is instance connections and path, message paths. So this is the connection notations are depicted in this figure. Instant first we have to we will discuss about the instance collections. Objects do not exist in a vacuum, and for this reason, an analysis should define relationship for each object in the model. So, an instance connection is a modeling notation that defines a specific relationship between instances of the object, and there are some steps to be followed for instance connection. The first step is that objects are connected by a simple line. Objects are connected by a simple line, and these connectivities indicate that some important relationship does exist. Okay, then the second step, once the line have been established, each end is evaluated to determine whether a single means one-to-one connection exists or a multiple connection means uh, one-to-many exist. Okay, so if the single connection is exist or one-to-many connections are exist, in the second step you have to establish or evaluate or determine this thing. For a one-to-one connection, the line is annotated with a single bar. A one-to-many, one-to-many connection is annotated with a three. Can you see the cursor? The three fork symbol, which is shown in this figure. I am uh, moving the cursor here.
Yes.
Finally, yes, finally we need another vertical bar if the connection is mandatory, and a circle to represent an operational connection. Okay, the circle presents the operational connection. Okay, so when operational connection is there, we can depict it through the this arrow, sorry, this circle. And if there are many communication paths, then uh, we have to depict it in this type. Okay, and in the simple connectivity, we are one to one connectivity, we will depict it as uh, in depicted in this figure. Okay, in step 3, the resultant representation is made in which all objects relationships are made by a single line, and also required connections like one to one, like one to many, etc. Okay, and what is message path? So this is the simple connections between instances. Okay, it is the example of simple connectivity between instances. Now we will talk about the message path. What is message path? Message path are also known as message connections. Okay, so they are shown by dotted arrows. They are shown by dotted arrows, and among the objects in which arrow implies the interchange of messages in the model. So messages move along each instance connection path. Therefore, message connections are diverted directly from instance connections. So if you make these lines as a dotted line, you can depict it as a, you can call it as a message path. Okay, this is the message path, this is the message path, this is the message path. Okay, so these are the message path. So relationship in what connection, in what concern connection uh, in is concerned with the message. These are basically message connections. Okay, message path is known as message connections. If no connection is there, if no path is there, no connection, no connectivity is there. Okay, so it is a simple phenomena, simple depiction of instance connection and message path. Now the three things are more there. The first thing is object oriented analysis and prototyping. The second thing is object relationship model, and the third is object behavioral model. So these are very simple thing, and uh, uh, they are least important because we have already discussed these things. We have discussed the prototyping, we have discussed object oriented analysis in brief, in detail, in our previous classes. And object relationship model and object behavioral model are new things, we will discuss it. So first of all, object oriented analysis and prototyping, we will discuss about these this topic. As such, the use of object-oriented analysis can lead to extremely effective prototyping and evolutionary software engineering techniques. I think you remember the evolutionary spiral model, which I elaborated in the uh, previous class. Yes, during the object oriented analysis. So the prototyping and evolutionary software engineering techniques are the core part of object oriented analysis, and the objectives that are specified are and ultimately implemented for a current new projects can be cataloged in the library, which is the main aim of software engineering, to make components reusable and and store them in a library for further use. Okay, and in this way, the library will become a large collection of reusable objects, and when they existing or implemented objects uh, contained in the object library is required to be implemented in the new project, and they can be reused rather than inventing new ones. So if the invention is needed, you can invent, or you can develop the new project and new components. Otherwise, you can adopt those components from the libraries, already existing libraries. So this is the one thing. By using existing objects during analysis, specification time is reduced, and a rapid prototyping of the specified system can be created and reviewed by the customer. So prototyping, as I earlier said, that prototyping is a dummy. Prototype is a model. Prototype is a dummy of the proposed system, proposed software. So you can provide that dummy after the to the client after the object oriented analysis. So you can say that object oriented analysis provides you to make the dummy of your system, and you can provide it to the customer for evaluation. And even more important, the prototype can involve into a working product of system, because the building blocks that created uh, uh, the object, okay, have already been proven in practice. So you have tested your prototype already, you have already tested your prototype, you have made the prototype after the object oriented analysis. So it is important to provide the object oriented or the you it is important to provide your um software or dummy of the software to the client for getting the feedback, okay, which will help you for further improvement in your software. Now come to the next point, that is the object relationship model. uh, we had discussed CRC, okay, yet. So the CRC modeling first established the first element of class and object relationship. During this establishment, the responsibility of each class is understood. So, the next step is to define those collaborator classes that aid in achieving each responsibility. This establishes the connections between classes. Okay, so what is the purpose of object relationship model? The purpose of object relationship model is to establish the connection between classes. Okay, a relationship exists between any two classes that are connected to be established in the object relationship model. Most common relationship is the binary relationship, and uh, scientists suggested that relationship model can be derived into three steps. The first step, as I earlier said, that CRC index cards, you can use it, you can mention about all information about the class, so you can achieve all, you can retrieve the information about each and every class from the CRC index card. So using the CRC index card is the first step. You can use the CRC index card, a network of collaborator objects can be drawn. And the second step, reviewing the CRC model index card, responsibilities and collaborators are evaluated, and each unlabeled connections lines is named. So in named, so you can first, you can use the CRC index card and mention the network of collaborators and the relationships. Then reviewing, in the second step, you can you should reviewing the CRC model index card, their responsibilities mentioned in it, and collaborators mentioned in it. You can evaluate each and enable each of the class, and label all the connections properly. Okay. Then the third step, once the named relationship have been established, each end is evaluated to determine carefully. Okay. So there are three steps you can uh, uh, perform through the object relationship model. And this relationship model uh, provides, in a nutshell, this object relationship model provides the connections, or establish the connection between the classes, the first aim. And how it works, it works in three steps. It suggested three steps methodology. In the first step, you can use the CRC index card, and you can draw, you can make the network of collaborator objects. And in the second step, you can reviewing दोबारा देखना है आपको, है ना. You can reviewing the CRC model index card, and uh, what kind of responsibilities and collaborators mentioned there. You can you should uh, evaluate them, and label all the connections properly. Okay. This is the second step. And in the third step, once the named relationship have been established, each end is evaluated to and determined carefully. Okay. So these are three steps you can perform in the object relationship model. So it is all about object relationship model. I think you understand very well this model. The last model is object behavioral model. After building the CRC model and the object relationship model, the object behavioral model is also built, and this model represents the dynamic behavior of the object oriented system or product. So the behavior of the system is evaluated in terms of specified events and time. Okay. So after building the CRC model, the object and the object relationship model, you should build, you should develop, you should create the object behavioral model. Okay. So this is the third type of model. First is CRC model, second is object relationship model. When you develop the object till the object relationship model, you should develop the object behavioral model. Okay. And this, what this model presents, this model presents a dynamic behavior of the object oriented system or product. Okay. So uh, the behavior of the system is evaluated in terms of a specific events and time. To create the object behavioral model, the analyst must perform some steps, like in the first step, evaluate all use cases to fully understand the sequence of interaction with within the system. So first of all, when you are developing the object behavioral model, first of all, you have to evaluate all use cases and their sequences of interaction. Secondly, you have to identify events then that derive the interaction sequence and understand how these events relate to specific objects. And thirdly, you should create an event trace for each use case. So what are the activities? First, you have to evaluate all use cases. Okay. Secondly, you identify events and derive the interaction sequences and understand how these events are related to the specific object. The third step, you should create an event trace for each use case. You should create an event for each use case. And fourthly, build a state transaction diagram for the system. It is another type of tool which is used in which is used in system analysis and system design. So you can build a state transaction diagram for the system. And lastly, you have to review the object behavioral model to verify accuracy and consistency. So what is the purpose of object behavioral model? You should remember, you should keep in your mind that first thing is you should make the CRC model first. Then you have to develop the object relationship model, and after development of both models, you should build the object behavioral model. Okay, that this is the first thing. And what this model presents, model presents dynamic behavior of the object oriented system or your product. Okay, so how to build this system? The scientists suggest a behavior some steps to build this system, this model. First is to evaluate all use cases to fully understand the sequence of interaction. Secondly, you have to identify events that derive the interaction sequence and understand how these events relate to specified objects. And the third one is create an event for each use case. The fourth step is build a state transaction diagram for your system. And fifth point is to review the object behavioral model to verify accuracy and consistency. After all, you have to review the model which you have developed. Okay, so this is all about uh, object behavioral model. Today we have discussed various things uh, like domain analysis. We had discussed use cases, case responsibility, collaborator modeling, that is CRC. Then we had discussed about classification and assembly. We have learned it through some uh, examples. And then we have discussed about instance connections and message paths through some examples. Then object oriented analysis and prototyping, which we have already discussed in our previous classes, and we have briefed it in this class also. And then the object relationship model and the object behavioral model we have discussed in a brief. So this is all about today's class. Now I am closing the session.